Because Hakeem Butler had to sit out his rookie year with an injury, a lot of the football world has forgotten about him. He's in the NFL today, but flashing back to his younger days, you would have never imagined he would make it this far. Coming out of high school as a two-star recruit and choosing a school with little to no football success didn't exactly have him on the path to the NFL in most people's eyes, but he knew it was going to happen all along. In today's video, we'll be talking about the incredible and inspiring journey of current Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Hakeem Butler and how he made it. If you enjoy videos like this, then please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. If you click this video, then I know you're a football fan, so what do you have to lose? If you know of a player who has a really cool story, or just someone you want me to do next, please be sure to drop it in the comment section below. And now let's get started with the rise of Hakeem Butler. His story is truly inspiring, and one of my favorites I've ever done. Hakeem was born in a really bad area of Baltimore, Maryland, but his upbringing there is what shaped him into the person and player that he is today. He grew up in a one-bedroom house, and he was surrounded by crime and negative vibes all the time. He had to learn how to be independent from a young age, and he had to learn how to fend for himself. He was athletic and loved football from the very beginning, but growing up in a poor house and a single mother, the odds he could get the training and resources to be successful were slim. If he was going to ever do it, he was going to have to do it on his own, and he would be at a disadvantage. He worked and grinded every day, and then things got really tough when he turned 14. Right when he was going into high school, his mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. She battled this for 2 more years, and it took an enormous toll on Hakeem and his siblings. His dream was to make it out, play in the NFL, and provide for his family, and he knew he was going to make it happen. Tragically though, when he was 16, his mother passed away from the cancer, and Hakeem had hit an all-time low. His grades tanked, he stopped working, and he was sad because he didn't see the value in living anymore. What was he going to do without his mom? It's heartbreaking to hear anyone say that, and eventually the rest of his family knew he needed a change in scenery. Believe it or not, his cousins are actually the Harrison twins, which I found to be really neat. He moved to Macon, Georgia to live with some of his other relatives for a while, and while there, he gained a new perspective on life and actually got straight A's in school. It was really tough for him, but he eventually got stronger mentally and moved to Richmond, Texas. He moved in with the Harrison twins, and they actually became really close, like brothers. At the time, the twins were both 5-star recruits and were set to go to Kentucky for basketball, but Hakeem got the most attention in the family. Because he was the youngest, he stayed out of trouble and got the best grades. Despite being surrounded by basketball at all times, Hakeem was drawn to football, and that became his passion. Basketball really did help him though, as he could work out with his brother and the Harrison twins, and basketball helped him grow into his body. Butler wasn't a star in high school football by any means, but he had the raw athleticism and immeasurables. Despite that, he never received much interest at all on the recruiting trail because both of his skill and because of his grades. With all the moves in different schools, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to qualify academically in college. He had offers from Iowa State, Houston, and New Mexico, but none of those were very high profile. At the end of the day, Hakeem chose the school with the biggest stage and the best chance to get him to the NFL, so he settled on the Iowa State Cyclones. He didn't exactly have a ton of options, but he made do with what he had. According to 24/7 Sports, Hakeem Butler was a 2-star recruit, the 271st best wide receiver, and the 2,292nd best player in the class of 2015. Butler had officially made it out of poverty, and he was ready to take on the college football world, and he was going to be playing for himself and his mom. At the time, Iowa State was under head coach Paul Rhodes, and he was forever thankful to him for offering and giving him a chance to play for Iowa State. After redshirting his first year in Ames, Paul Rhodes was fired, and all of a sudden, Hakeem felt his football playing days were potentially in jeopardy. With a new coach coming in, anything could happen, and he would definitely be evaluated to see whether he had a place in the program and his scholarship could actually be taken away. Former Toledo head coach Matt Campbell came in to save the day for Iowa State, and everyone loved the hire. I actually made a video a few weeks ago about the rise of Matt Campbell in Iowa State football, so be sure to check that one out when you're done here. I'll leave a link down in the description box. Matt Campbell came in and really liked what he saw from Hakeem. He knew Butler had the work ethic, was resilient, and had the athleticism to do well in college football, so he kept him on the team and told him that he would actually have a role moving forwards. This would probably become the best thing that would ever happen to his football career, as Campbell is a terrific coach and gets the most out of all his players, especially overlooked ones. Going into year 1 under MC, the Cyclones were not at all expected to be good, as this was expected to be a long rebuild. The new era did not exactly start out well, as they lost to an in-state FCS school Northern Iowa in their first game, and followed that up with a loss to their arch-rival Iowa the following week. In that first game against Northern Iowa, Hakeem caught his first career pass, and it would go on to become a touchdown for him. He would also catch another pass against Iowa too. After a loss to TCU, the Clones won their first game of the year against San Jose State, but Butler wasn't there to see it as he didn't play. He reappeared in their close loss to Baylor, and he continued his streak of only catching one pass a game for quite some time. Against Texas Tech, his one pass went for a touchdown, and finally, in their game against West Virginia, he caught two passes. Iowa State would end up going 3-9 on the year, but they were actually somewhat competitive in some of their games. As a redshirt freshman, Hakeem caught 9 passes for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not bad for a player who was worried he would get cut. 2017 was going to be the big year for Iowa State football, but no one knew that going into it. David Montgomery was an up-and-coming running back, and Georgia transfer Jacob Park was going to be the quarterback. Park and the Cyclones struggled their first few games as they lost to their rival Iowa and Texas at home to start out with a 2-2 record. In those first 4 games, Hakeem only played in 3 of them, but broke out as he caught a combined 16 passes for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Coupled with Allen Lazard and Kyle Kemp now becoming the starting quarterback, maybe the Clones' luck would change. Against number 3 Oklahoma, it did just that, as Iowa State hung with them the entire way, and Allen Lazard caught a late touchdown pass which would ultimately give them the win. It was one of the biggest wins in program history, and things were just getting started. After wins over Kansas and Texas Tech, the team shot up to number 25 in the country for their matchup with number 4 TCU. In what was a defensive slugfest, Hakeem Butler caught one of the 2 touchdowns, and Iowa State won 14-7. After another huge upset, the Cyclones were given the title of the Cinderella team of 2017. Things would cool off though for both Butler and the team, as they lost back-to-back close games to West Virginia and Oklahoma State, and Hakeem wasn't exactly making as big of an impact as he first did. After a win over Baylor though, Iowa State finished the year at 7-5 as they lost to Kansas State by way of a last-second touchdown. They ended up beating number 20 Memphis in the Liberty Bowl, and Iowa State football was on the rise. As a sophomore, Butler caught 41 passes for 697 yards and 7 touchdowns. With Allen Lazard leaving, it was going to be time for Hakeem to step up in 2018. Going into 2018, the team would have to find a new quarterback, and someone was going to have to step up at wide receiver, but those questions weren't there at first. The season didn't actually start out very good for them, as they lost Kyle Kemp to injury, and Connor Nolan just was not very good, and they started out with a 1-3 record. In those 4 games, Hakeem caught 16 passes for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns once again. The season was getting out of hand, and they needed something to change quickly. Finally, against number 25 Oklahoma State, their luck changed. True freshman Brock Purdy was inserted into the starting lineup, and he broke out and became a star, as he threw for 318 yards and 4 touchdowns, was on the receiving end of one of those touchdowns. They then knocked off number 6 West Virginia the following week at home, and he went for 107 yards and another touchdown. He caught 148 yards against Texas Tech, and then had a career day against Kansas as he caught 164 yards and 2 touchdowns against them. They beat Baylor to cap off a 5-game winning streak, and they'd officially saved their season once again. They lost a close game on the road to number 15 Texas, and they then beat Kansas State and Drake to finish the season at 8-5, and then lost to number 13 Washington State in the Alamo Bowl. Hakeem Butler had become one of the best wide receivers in college football after he caught 60 passes for 1,318 yards and 9 touchdowns, and he had the 3rd highest per catch average in the country. After the stellar year, Hakeem was looked at as a for sure NFL draft prospect, so he declared for the 2019 NFL draft and skipped his senior year. It was truly amazing just how far Hakeem had come since his days in Baltimore, but he still had to do well at the combine and get himself onto an NFL roster before he could say that he made it. Hakeem tested best in 3 different categories at the NFL combine, and he declared himself the best wide receiver in the 2019 receiver class. For some reason, even though he tested so well and had such good stats, he was taken with the 103rd pick in the 4th round by the Arizona Cardinals. My only explanation to why he dropped is just because he played for Iowa State and not some sort of prestigious school. With Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray coming in, Butler was expected to be a big part of the Cardinals' future, but sadly, it was cut short as he broke his hand just a couple weeks before the season started. Going into 2020, Hakeem is expected to be a big part of the offense, and some actually think he could become the team's next Larry Fitzgerald. I'm really pumped to see what he can do in 2020 myself, and I find myself rooting for him to succeed in everything he does. It's also that out of the Harrison twins and him, Butler became the most successful. Even though the Harrison twins were both top 10 kids and 5-star recruits and have played in the NBA, Hakeem is the best of the 3. I find myself a soft-spoken Iowa State football fan because I love Matt Campbell, and ever since that 2017 Cinderella season, they have been one of my favorites. Hakeem's story only makes me root for them more. If you're an Iowa State fan or an Arizona Cardinals fan, let me know in the comments section down below and let me know what you think of Hakeem. I really enjoyed making today's video, And if you like Hakeem or think his story is inspiring, please take a moment to smash that like button and help support both Hakeem and I on this channel. If you like videos like this, be sure to subscribe and help me reach 3K subs by the end of July. Let me know who I should do next, and if you are still here, check out my video about the rise of Iowa State football and all my other NFL player story videos. Until next time though, peace.